Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey.
Rap music and the Grammys. I'm starting us off there this time because Phil and I just had a little mini conversation as we usually tend to do when we record the show here. And we talked about rap music, among other things, of course, heading into this episode, but more specifically for the Grammys. If you are any type of age anywhere on the planet and you follow such frivolous things as award shows or whatnot, and it really piques your interest, especially if it's the Grammys, Oscars, Emmys, whatever, you probably have your favorites. You probably have music, TV shows, and movies that you're a big fan of. And maybe you've seen those movies, TV shows, and musicians kind of fall by the wayside and not win maybe when you felt like they should have, or when possibly the overwhelming majority of people felt like they should have. We don't have to worry about that too much with the topic we have here today, but there's a lot we'll get into here, not only with this group, but with the topic I just mentioned, and we'll touch on that as we go. But this time out, we're talking about Outkast. Of course, as you know, you can see the thumbnail, you can read the title, and the big double album from 2003, which is still considered a classic. And yes, it's the best-selling rap album of all time, kids. Trust me when I tell you that. We're going to get into that here as well today. Can't wait to get into it. This is a double-sided album. And as you can see, we are not tackling both sides of this today. All right? Today, you're getting Speakerboxxx. You're not getting The Love Below. You'll get that in the next episode. Be patient. We want to be able to dedicate the time that each album deserves. And we're not going to try to cram that into one session. At some point, man's got to get some rest. But again, if you're a fan of this group, if you like this kind of music, then you are probably, more than likely, a fan of this album. Because, brother, let me tell you, it is a classic. Let's get into it. Speakerboxxx, The Love Below, is the fifth studio album by the American hip-hop duo Outkast, released on September 23rd, 2003 by Arista Records. Issued as a double album, its length of over 2 hours is spread across 2 solo albums from both of the group's members. Big Boy's Speakerboxxx, which we're talking about here today, is a southern hip-hop album with progressive qualities and influence from the Parliament Funkadelic sound. And that's what we're getting in here to today, kids. This album has a total run length of 134 minutes and 49 seconds. And as we said, Arista is the label. Andre 3000 is listed as producer, along with Big Boy, Carl Moe, Cutmaster Swift, Dojo 5, and Mr. DJ. And there are your producers, and we're going to get into it. And that, kids, is the lowdown for Speakerboxxx. Now, Phil, you and I chatted a little bit today here about this, and usually I throw stats into the lowdown. But this album, man, 13 times platinum, 6.5 million copies sold. That's just in the U.S. 3 times platinum in the U.K., 2 times platinum in Australia. I mean, Phil, this is a monster record to be sure. What's your thoughts, high-level thoughts of this album coming into the show today?
I believe that it is clearly one of the most successful double albums by any rap artist. It's kind of hard to get a double album to work because a lot of times when guys have enough content for a double album, a lot of it is filler. It's not like all good quality music. This album is pretty good throughout. I feel like it's one of the strongest drops by anybody that's put out a double disc. I mean, it's technically, a little bit unfair because it's 2 artists and it's 2 separate albums. It's wild to think about. This came out in 2003, and that's really the last full-length studio album from Outkast. I know they had a soundtrack to their movie, but there's not a lot of new music on there. There's a lot of music on that album from this album. So they haven't actually dropped a full length album since then. We've gotten uh Big Boy solo albums. Everybody has been begging Andre 3000 to give us music. Last year he gave us the flute album.
Yeah.
um, but it's just insane to think that it's been 20 years since these guys have put out like a full length album.
I mean, you may not have an answer to this. I don't think I have one. Are they done? Do we know?
I mean, they've toured at certain points. There is supposedly music with the two of them together. I fully believe that Andre has a lot of music somewhere just sitting that he just doesn't release. I don't know. It seems like the holdup is Andre. Um, and I mean, you could see the split here with this album that these guys were diverging in two different directions. But if you'd have told me after the success of this album that they wouldn't drop anything else together and that we wouldn't have had a single uh Andre 3000 solo album by now, I would have been in complete disbelief.
Oh, same, same. I mean, I can't believe it's come that far. Like
Yeah.
21 years, Phil. I said to you before we started recording, I can't believe we missed the 20th anniversary of this album. But man, it's shocking. Like you said, no follow up at all.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a bad thing to go out on a high note. This was I one of easily their most well received album. Um, but I think a lot of us have wanted something with them together. Andre has given us verses on other people's songs, and they're always incredible. Um, and I think even just getting into Love Below, a lot of people expected like something to come after that album. Like he had just scratched the surface as a solo artist, and that he was going to come with more, and then he just didn't. um,
Hmm.
it's interesting. But with that said, I think at one point, this album is really well received because of the Love Below, and I think a lot of people like Andre 3000 so much that a lot of people perceive his coming out party as a solo artist as the reason that propelled this album. And I strongly disagree. I think this album is good because of both sides of it. And depending on my listening habits, I sometimes feel like Speakerboxxx is the better half of the album. Um, but for a long time, Big Boy, I feel, was the unappreciated member of the group. I think a lot of people love Andre so much that a lot of people kind of sleep on how good Big Boy is.
And, we've said this before on the show too, Phil. Like a trademark of a great MC is that no one else really sounds like him. Like,
Yeah.
some guys have a distinctive voice and other guys don't, so they have to, maybe use a growl or they have to, work on their cadence because their voice isn't recognizable. Big Boy's voice is instantly recognizable, man. He really stands apart, doesn't he?
Yes. I mean, he's had great. I mean, there's so many moments of his that, with his voice and his presence. I know that meme pops up all the time from ATL of him looking at the camera and going, "I know that ain't who I think it is." Um, um, but yeah, I think for a long time he was very much unappreciated for his input on this album, and for him to input almost 20 songs on this album, and people are like, it's the Love Below that makes the album good. I always thought that was a ludicrous thing to say. um because his side of the album is very good. And I think that this album showcases what he brings to the group. Both of them are very good rappers, but if you want like that um pure distilled version of southern hip hop, Big Boy brings that. He's, I feel, an icon for southern rap.
I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. Is this I've always kind of considered this album. You listen, you tell me if I'm off base here. You're a Beatles guy like I am. I've always sort of considered this to be like, Abbey Road, where one side belonged to Paul and one side was John. Do you see, can you draw comparisons here between these two guys creatively and John and Paul, or is that a stretch?
I can definitely see it. I can see how a lot of Speakerboxxx is Big Boy's vision for hip hop, and we have more Big Boy solo albums, so you can see that that's very much true. Um, Andre had input on Speakerboxxx, but it was pretty minimal. It wasn't as much as you would think. Um, but yeah, I think that's a good comparison because I think both guys were kind of going in their own direction. Mostly Andre, that he had his vision for the music he wanted to make, and I thought he was successful at it. But it's just still bizarre that after 20 years, we have got nothing, got nothing else to follow up.
That's something, isn't it? I can't. Yeah, I can't wrap my head around that.
Did you hear that rumor at one point? Well, it isn't a rumor because it came straight from Andre. So let me rephrase. It's not a rumor. The quote from Andre, right after Fife passed away, that at one point there was real consideration to make a Outkast and Tribe Called Quest collaboration album.
Why did we not get that?
I don't know. And Andre at the time was saying that he really wished that he had really pushed to make it happen, and he really now regrets not doing it. And when he said that, I just slid down in my seat and I was like, why?
Was this, you said this before or after Fife died?
He said this after Fife passed away.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Yeah.
So now it's never going to happen.
No, because it wouldn't be the same. It would just basically be, Tip with these two guys.
Yeah, and I think that they have a very similar dynamic because Fife brings kind of like this New York hip hop sensibility to it, and then at the same time, Q-Tip is the esoteric guy, and it's the same dynamic the Outkast has, where Big Boy is this like Southern hip hop icon, but at the same time, um, Andre is super esoteric and out in left field.
Yeah, Big Boy's more grounded.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
more
it's a
organic.
it's a very similar dynamic to Quest when you really think about it. And so when you think about it, like, yeah, of course, those four guys on an album together would have been perfect, and we never got it.
Um, and I don't want to discount any of the rap acts because Eric B and Rakim, Pete Rock, CL Smooth, and listen, 100 other duos. But Phil, some duos are the MC and the DJ, and that's for lack of one off the top of my head, Will Smith,
Gangstar.
and yeah, there you go, Gangster. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. This is all subjective, Phil. So I'll just ask you directly: is Outkast the best rap duo in your opinion? Or they're at
Yes.
least top 5? I mean, where do you hold them for yourself personally?
Yes, I think hands down they're the best rap duo. I put them over Mobb Deep, anybody else you want to put out there.
Ooh.
In terms of their catalog, I think they're the best. I think in terms of uh, the technical ability between the two of them, there are not many guys that are going to out rap Andre. Um, yeah, I think by far it's Outkast.
Yeah, man. He's got that God, man, he's got that flow. I mean, how he goes that fast, I don't know. They only had 6 studio albums. Put your head around that.
Yeah, but what a run! What a catalog! Classic albums. I would say they have at least 3.
Yeah, for sure. Starting in 94, 94, 90. Listen, 94, 96, 98, 2000, 2003, 2006. That is insane, dude. That's insane. 6 albums in what is that? 12 years? No. Yeah, 12 years, 12 years. Jeez. Now, creativity abounds. I would say this is the most, well, yeah, this double album is probably the most creative album they've ever done. Yeah, you think so?
I would agree with that. I think this is the most clearly defined both of their visions of their music is. Um, I mean, it's very telling that it's one of the their most commercially well received albums to date.
Mhm.
Has some of their biggest singles on it. Um, I kind of feel away because you brought the Grammys up earlier. It of course has the accolade of being one of the only rap albums to win Album of the Year. Also
Mhm.
won Best Rap Album in the same year. I think there's only maybe 2 albums that hold that accolade. Um, I'm trying to remember the other one off the top of my head that won both Best Rap Album and Album of the Year, but I believe Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, of course, is the other album that won Album of the Year. Um,
Mm.
but when you look at those two rap albums, um, they're rap albums, but they're very much like outside of outside of the field of a conventional rap album. There's a lot of
Mm.
singing. There's a lot of alternative music on there. There's a lot for other audiences to sink their teeth into, and I think that again, that's what makes some of my annoyance that people feel that Love Below makes this album so good. Because while I believe Love Below is excellent, I feel like they want to discount the rap half of it because they want to discount Big Boy. And I have a whole theory about how mainstream white audience love esoteric black people because they feel they're safe. They feel like they're non-threatening.
I see
And
that.
I think that's why a lot of people like Andre so much. And I think Andre is exceptional. But I hate that people single him out sometimes. Like Big Boy is not also very good.
Like, Andre smiling with the hair and the suspenders, which is so uniquely him,
Yes.
versus Ice Cube, who's growling and spitting in the camera. Like,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, it's a shame. I do. I think you're right about that. I do. I think, look, for lack of a better term, white America, like you said, is threatened. And this is not quite the same thing. I get it, kids, but like much in the same way they're threatened by death metal that they don't understand, where you can't understand the lead vocalist. It's scary as crap to them because they're satanic. Well, no, you just don't understand what they are, so you label it as something evil. I don't know, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very telling that those two artists that are like non-conventional rap artists have won album of the year. I think it's a great accolade for this album. It very much deserves it. But man, give Big Boy his flowers because he very much deserves it.
Well, that's definitely the goal here today. As we said, kids, we're only tackling the first side or the first album here, which is Speakerboxxx. We'll talk a whole heck of a lot more about Andre and his contributions when we do Love Below. Kids, there's 19 songs on this album. So we're going to kind of zip through these, but we've got stuff to say. And despite I don't know if there's like remastered versions or whatever, we're just doing the basic cuts, the basic first release. There's no extras here. So if you want to follow along with your album, you're more than welcome to. And we're going to get into it here. The first cut, Phil, that we hear off this album is just an intro. And this is not a whole lot going on here, just kind of a hodgepodge. It sounds great, but there's no real lyrics. It's just an instrumental. What do you think about kicking off the album like this? You think kind of easing people into it's the best way, or should you hit them with, a number one track right off the bat?
It's a very trademark way to start an Outkast album. They have other intros like this. And so it felt very familiar every time I turn the album on. I hear it. Um, it's not that long, so a lot of times I'll let it play into the actual first song of the album.
There you go. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, as I said, there's no lyrics here. DJ Cutmaster Swift is a producer on this one, and it gets us going. This is only a minute and 29 seconds. This leads us to track number 2. This is Ghetto Music, and this is one of 5 singles released from this album. Phil, there were 5 total, 2 from this side, and 3 from Dre's album. So Ghetto Music is I think the second. No, it's actually the first single released July 15th, 2003. This was the first. I don't know if I could have called that, Phil. Did you know that?
Is it the first single? I thought that Way You Move was the first single.
July 15th, 2003. The Way You Move was released August 25th, 2003.
Yeah, maybe that's right. The ghetto music, of course. If you played a lot of NFL Madden, this was the song on that soundtrack. So if you played a lot of that game, you heard it a lot. And I think it's an incredible song. I think the thing about this album that really works is it sounds like a celebration of all of the music that Big Boy grew up on and all of the music that kind of defined his life as a Southern black man. And
Mhm.
it's all here. Like there's like the Patti LaBelle vocals on it, like the kind of gospel, like funk feel of it. I really, really love this. It's just everything about it. It just has this like really chaotic energy to it. But it's a banger. It's an absolute banger.
And when it settles in, it's really good. Um, Kind of takes a different pace when it finally settles in. But yeah, there's not a lot of lyrics to this. Uh, and it's got Andre who just fits it perfectly, doesn't he?
Yeah. I believe that's him on the hook part of it. That has like the distortion and stuff on it before we get like the Patti LaBelle vocals.
It is actually. Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Turn me down,
Yeah.
turn me up, don't let me down. Very,
Yeah.
very Southern. I love that about Big Boy, that he does not shy away from being Southern at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Embrace it. Because, we talked about this before we started recording the whole Nelly's Country Grammar album. Like, dude, that album was another monster.
Huge,
Huge.
huge album.
Another guy that doesn't get away from who he is, which is awesome. But yeah, this as we said, kids, this song features vocals from Andre 3000. He produced this one as well, alongside. This was actually written alongside Kenneth Gamble and Bunny Sigler, who are credited due to the song containing excerpts from their composition "Love, Need, and Want You," performed by Patti LaBelle. So there you go.
Yeah, really, really love the song.
Yeah, it's a really good track. Hey, kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. BOINK, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. Track 3 on the album, by the way, Get a Music runs 3 minutes 56 seconds. I'm a fan of that as well, as is Phil. Really good, solid track too. Track number 3 is Unhappy.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit different. Got a great groove to it. Once you settle in, it's, man, I'm listening to it right now. What a really, just, this is a great track, man. What do you think about Unhappy?
Big Boy has done a lot of music with Sleepy Brown, and
Mhm.
they have a really good working relationship. His vocals next to Big Boy's raps are, it just works. They just blend very well, and I think the same way that the initial song on the album is kind of like this celebration of all of this music that he grew up. This feels very much like soul, very much like almost like a bluesy like Temptations R&B record
Mm.
with Andre rapping over it. Incredible hook, very catchy. I think it's one of the best hooks on this half of the album.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. And Big Boy's telling us basically kids about his childhood, violent, sad at times, and the idea that life's going to throw several curveballs at you, but instead of crumbling under the weight of it, you got to keep going and persevere. Good messaging here, but really a solid song. I love that Temptations comparison. That's spot on.
Yeah, it could have that kind of that same like soul R&B kind of like doo-woppy sound to it.
It does. Yeah, man, that's a really, really good thing. Yeah, I'm a fan of this one as well. I don't know if it's one of my it may be one of my favorite on this album actually. I really enjoy this one. I think it holds up too. In terms of, let's see, lyrics here, kids. Basically, you might as well have fun because your happiness is done and your goose is cooked.
Yeah,
Which
very,
in any
very
other,
Southern.
very southern, right? And it could be kind of goofy, but the way they perform it, it's not really laughable at all, man.
Yeah, um, yeah, has that very distinct Dungeon Family sound as well that I think
Mm.
makes it work as well. Like you can
Yeah,
very much hear CeeLo singing the same hook, and it will probably work.
yeah, good call. Big Boy and David Sheets are listed as writers. Mr. DJ is the producer on this. 3 minutes 19 seconds for this one. Yeah, solid track, man. I'm a fan of this as well. Let's talk about track number 4. This is Bow Tie. Sleepy Brown's back on this, and Jazzy Fa.
Jazzy Faye.
Jazz, yeah. Jazz Fa? Is it Jazzy Fa? There's an E on the end.
It's Jazzy Faye.
Jazzy Faye, my bad. How did I not know that?
I mean, yeah, I know that because he says his name on most songs that he's produced. And his ad lib is on there, so that's how I know his name.
There you go. Writer, Big Boy's one of the writers. Patrick Brown, Phelan Alexander. Phelan Alexander is the aforementioned Jazzy Faye. So there you go. Big Boy's producer on this. 3 minutes 56 seconds. I love this one. This may actually be my favorite track on this album. What do you think about Bow Tie?
I love it. That horn on this is just so great.
Awesome.
So good. It's on the soundtrack for Idlewild. I am a big defender of Idlewild. There are very much issues with the movie, but I love it. And the soundtrack is great. This song is on there. If you've seen it, Idlewild is basically like a musical. So you have Big Boy performing it at certain points on the stage, and it fits so well because it has that kind of like funky saloon style kind of music,
Mm,
and it has like this kind of has this class to it. It doesn't feel like I think that's what's so dope about this album as well is that it does feel like this like big celebration of southern music and southern rap, but it has like this class and like veneer to it. If you can see him like in a big fur coat with a nice suit on and a bow tie,
mm.
performing this.
Oh, yeah, dude, no doubt about it. Um, Crocodile on my feet, fox fur on my back, bow tie around my neck. That's why they call me the Gangsta Mac. What a great lyric, man.
Yeah, his verses on this are fantastic as well. He really brings. I think the production on this. I mean, the production on the first 3 songs is fantastic.
Yeah.
But the production on here is great. I think the refrain and everything is also really good. Really catchy.
And like there's cursing in the album, but it's never really, I don't know, dude. It almost feels like these guys are more, not that other rappers aren't telling a story, Phil, but this feels more like storytelling to me than anything else. You get that vibe through this album as well?
Yeah. This definitely feels like a mature Outkast album.
Ooh, that's a great way to put that. So you think this is like the natural evolution for them as a group?
Yes, I feel like this is their most mature album in their catalog.
Yeah, I agree with that. It makes total sense. Track number 5, Kids, at 3 minutes 54 seconds, may be one of the more instantly recognizable tracks from side 1. That may be for just casual fans as well, but I guarantee you, even casual fans have heard The Way You Move. Sleepy Brown is on this again. And Phil, this has got to be one of their most well-known hits. I mean, this song, when it was released as a single, was just everywhere and just replayed. They just played the life out of it, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about this one?
Smash it. I knew it was a hit the second I heard it. Just man, instantly memorable, incredible production. Sleepy
Mm,
Brown is fantastic on it. This is Big Boy in his most cool and charismatic,
mhm.
and like his verses on it are great. The video, of course, because I never think about this without thinking of the video and when it hit and how it was everywhere. Of course, Big Boy with like the big fur coat on and like the
Yeah.
auto shop he was working in, and very beautiful dark skinned woman with the bikini on.
Mm.
Farnsworth Bentley dancing around with the umbrella. What
Yes.
a time period.
Wonderful. Oh, so good. This actually spent 8 weeks the number 2 position on the Billboard Hot 100 behind Hey Ya. one of the
Of
longest
course.
runs at that position in charts history. So, yeah, Phil, it finally peaked at number one on February 14th, 2004, where it stayed for just 1 week. And it was only the sixth time a recording act has replaced itself on the Billboard Pop chart.
Yeah. Yeah, both of those videos are very interesting. Um, I'm sure we'll talk about it when we talk about Hey Ya, but I can't unsee it now. But I saw Hey Ya one day and I was like, this video is Paul McCartney's Coming Up. It's the same video.
Oh, it totally is. 100%. Yeah, dude, totally. What a great song, by the way. Coming Up is a great song, okay?
Yeah, I love Coming Up.
Oh, yeah. In 2019, Big Boy performed this song. That's this song, meaning The Way You Move, an abbreviated version of the song on stage at Super Bowl with Adam Levine of the pop rock band Maroon 5 singing the hook. Or Adam Levine, Adam Levine. How do I not? I can't pronounce names today. I think I've had a stroke, Phil, as we hit the go live button. I don't know what's happened to me. Working my motor skills. Yeah, this song is a classic, man. As I said, instantly recognizable. And no matter how many times you've heard it, if you just listen, you may be able to find something else happening that's layered, it's textured. Big fan of this song, dude.
Yeah.
Great bass in it too, as well. We go from track 5 to track number 6 at 3 minutes 57 seconds. This is The Rooster. Maybe not quite as well known as this one or as The Way You Move, but yeah, 6 track. Big Boy raps about his family problems, specifically the problems with his ex-wife. And this tile the song ties with the chorus and the rooster-like sounds throughout the song. The connection between the rap content and the rooster is open to multiple interpretations. How do you interpret this song, Phil? Have you thought that deeply about it?
Yeah, I love I love the rooster motif. It's probably my favorite song on the first half of the album,
Hmm.
possibly. I love that he keeps the rooster theme playing throughout. This is another song that is on the soundtrack for Idlewild. Big
Mm-hmm.
Boy's character in Idlewild's name is Rooster,
There
and
you go.
that's one of the first songs he performs in the movie. And it's fantastic. He's like doing all of the rooster movements and stuff with his neck. It's so funny. It's so great. Love this song very much. I love, like I said, the kind of like the way that the guitar is like trying to mimic a rooster noise several times in there, and how easily it melds. This feels very much like a Parliament Funkadelic record as
Oh
well.
man, yes.
It's so good. I love Rooster. This is probably my favorite song on this album, possibly. But yeah, I you can read it a few different ways. I guess my interpretation is that, um Big Boy is the man of the house. He's the rooster. He's the cock of the walk.
Cock of the
He's
walk. Yeah, I love
he's
that.
the he's the one that's like kind of strutting around with big feathers and kicking his feet up. And meanwhile, his 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 wife is at home tending to the family and doing all of these things while he's away being this massive uh rap star. And he kind of comes back around like, what's the problem? I'm providing, right? Like, everything's great.
Right.
What would be the problem?
Yeah. I was getting some lyrics to read. And some of those, I don't think I'm going to read them. But man, they're awesome. Yeah, my baby mama left me. Now there's nobody at home. Begging to feel like Miss Jackson done got cloned. Like Jay's done this, Phil. Like Biggie's done it too, where they reference songs on previous albums. So I like that. That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And he does mention the Boom Boom Room, which I'm a fan of that as well. Yeah. I love that Parliament Funkadelic. Shout out George Clinton, by the way. Legend. Uh, Great comparison, man. I mean, it's another one of the things, Phil, that makes these guys fit so well together is that their inspirations are so varied and they just manage to click together like a puzzle, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, this could have easily sounded hokey. The idea of like a horn that is kind of mimicking a rooster call, and then you have the guitar that's doing the same thing, but it all sounds so good that it just
Hmm.
works.
It definitely works. Oh, man. It so works. Big Boy is listed as writer. Um, and also let's see, Patrick Brown, that's Sleepy Brown, of course. Carl Moe is on here, Carl Mahone, and Carl Moe and Big Boy are the producers on this song as well. Actually, on the Rooster, it's Donnie Mathis. Excuse me, Pat Mahone and Donnie Mathis, and Carl Moe and Big Boy as producers. Um, Going from this one to number 7, track number 7. This is Bust featuring Killer Mike and Big Boy along with Michael Render and Mama Crenshaw are the writers. Or excuse me, Myrna Crenshaw are the writers on this. Big Boy's a producer. 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Phil, what do you think about Bust?
Uh, I like Bus. Killer Mike is really the standout on this song.
He is.
Uh, Killer Mike has had a few times when he's jumped on an Outkast song when he's the standout. Of course, like his big breakout moment was on "Whole World" and his verse on there and how great it was. He's got another verse on this album that's also very good. Um, but he just brings this energy to this song, man. And he's had his own rap career where he's had a great lengthy career. He's had his own rap group that's also done very well. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's not a song that I feel like I have to listen to every time. But I really like the dark production on it. It's a big shift from the first half of the album. It's very moody, but yeah, Killer Mike's verse on it just makes this worth it every time you listen to it.
It's perfect. This is not meant as a dig. It kind of sounds like a song that would be featured on a Haunted Mansion movie.
Yeah, it just has this
You know what I
really like
mean?
dark mood to it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's fun at the same time. It's not like so dark that you can't, kind of dance to it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of this song, man. I mean, I may be changing my tune next to Bow Tie because, like, man, this is, oh, such a good song, dude. I love the music of this song too.
Yeah, great instrumentation. The guitar on it is excellent. Um, yeah, Buzz is a really great song. There, for the first, I want to say, it goes past the first half of the album. There are no real skips on this album.
No, no, I totally agree. Yeah. One of those who chauffeured life and then was underprepared. But my hunger is a thunder. No wonder it can't be smothered or buttered up. Buttercup, melt your sauce. You a Chuck E. Cheese bouncer chumping off the boss. What I'm trying to tell you now is that you're softer than soft, and I'm sick as a cough. Did I mention it's wrong? I'm sick as a cough. I love that one.
Yeah, Killer
Yeah.
Mike, man.
Yeah, this is
He
fun.
he brought it on almost every Outkast song he jumps on.
Yeah. Man, what a good song. Really good song. One of the shorter songs on this album, kids, is track number 8. This is War at 2 minutes 43 seconds. And let's see here. Another good song. Again, another one that you don't skip. I don't skip. Excellent song. Let's see. And this is basically one of the more aggressive and outwardly political songs from Big Boy. He takes aim at the Bush administration, the war on drugs, the war in Afghanistan, and the national media. Sir Lucius lets it rip with a litany of rants about the current state of the country and the misplaced priorities of the politicians running it. Does this feel weird to you in this album at this point, or do you think it's in a good spot?
No, because as I said, this is a very mature Outkast album. So this is very much Big Boy getting into all of the things that makes him him. I mean, it's still a very fun and it has all this energy to it in the first half of the album, but he still gets into themes like his family, his political views, his religious views, um, and I think it all works. I think it all works. It's like this great like collage of who he is as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent song, man. Come dumb, come young, come blind, unwind, confined to the situation we face because in time, tick, tick, boom. Yeah, it is a very political tune, man, but I don't it as fierce as it is, I don't feel like it's preachy for some reason. I just feel like it's
No.
just you know what I mean? I don't read
Uh,
it that way.
Yeah, it's very short and sweet. And this was kind of around the time that all of my favorite artists from that time period were becoming mature and becoming more political. All of the younger folks that I grew up listening to were now around my age, and they were old enough to vote. Because we also got, I believe, the very political Linkin Park album by that time as well.
I think you're right. What I know this answer varies based on the person, right? But like, do you tend to keep following acts as they mature like that, or do you? Again, I think this probably depends on the act, right? But like,
Yeah,
do you ever see it as, oh, well, they're doing that because everyone else is doing it? Do you know what I mean?
it depends on the act. I think depending on when you became a Linkin Park fan, for example, I can see you not wanting to see Linkin Park grow old, and
Mm.
some of it didn't really work for some people, but I enjoyed it. Uh, Minutes to Midnight, that's the name of the Linkin Park album. I really enjoyed that album. I don't remember if it came out in 2003 or 2004, 2004, 2005, somewhere around that time.
Mm. Yeah. I'm kind of like you. I think it depends on the act. There have been moments when I feel like, for example, Metallica caught so much flack for cutting their hair. And I'm like, guys, it's hair. What, what, what are we doing? Oh,
Yeah,
well, they cut their hair, Phil, and like they're wearing eyeliner. I'm like, it's an album. What are you talking about?
I think some people want the artist to stay the same when they discovered them.
Yeah.
And I do think it's something to growing with an artist. Because Linkin Park's like one of those artists, and there's several artists like Outkast and some artists that grew with me, and they grew with the times.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I like that a lot. That makes a lot of sense. We go from political themes to a really fun track. It's another fun track. Track number 9 is Church at 3 minutes, 27 seconds. Let's see, Big Boy and Andre 3000 are both listed as writers. Kevin Kendrick and let's see, Crenshaw's on this as well. And Andre 3000 is listed as the sole producer. Phil, I have to tell you, on side one of this album, I feel like I don't know if there's a better example of the Andre influence and the Big Boy influence coming together in one song. This
Hmm.
absolutely feels like an Outkast song and not just a Big Boy song here.
It does. It feels like an Outkast song without a Andre verse. Um,
Mm,
but what a hook, man! What a
love it.
fantastic hook! What a catchy hook! The gospel influence on it, the piano is just so great that goes throughout the entire song. Um, Patti LaBelle is back on vocals, and she's fantastic again. Um, what a legend Patti LaBelle is. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know about your childhood, but I grew up with a lot of Patti LaBelle playing in my household, so I
Mm,
immediately related to the feeling of growing up with somebody that is, a big part of Black music.
mm.
And so it was very much a treat to see someone that my mother listened to a lot be a part of one of my favorite albums for that time period. And my mother is also very religious. At one point, we were in church every Sunday,
Same.
um, and so just the gospel side of it and that influence also worked really well. I also really enjoyed that part of it. There's another one of my favorite songs on the album. It's also on the Idlewild soundtrack as well. So some things about it I immediately relate to Idlewild. Um, Man, but what a great song, man! This could have easily ended up being a single, in my opinion.
I don't know why it wasn't. I got a hard time understanding that. Because, man, this is a fun tune, dude. There's a pro wrestling move shout out here at the figure four leg lock. So I enjoyed that. Just so we could get the rhyme, feel like the figure four leg lock, like the jury went away and then they come back deadlock. So I like that rhyme. Yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't grow up with Patty as much as I heard Aretha and the Pointer Sisters. Mom really loved the Pointer Sisters.
Yeah.
So yeah, great track. To your point, I have no idea why it wasn't a single. So much good stuff here, man. This is a very non-skippable tune. Really good song, and basically it's just Big Boy touching on theological themes like sin and evil. You can hear it all the way through it. This is you know, the tambourines on the church stage with a guitar, bass, and drums, and people clapping along to the hymn or whatever. This is a fun time, man.
Yeah.
Really a fun time. I enjoyed it.
Tom Clark 6M Podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you.
We go from a little bit different with track number 9 with Church to an interlude. This is Bamboo at position number 10, 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Not a whole lot happening here, but a fun little interlude here. And of course, it's with Big Boy's son. His son is Bamboo Patton. So there you go. It's fun, man.
Yeah, it's fun just hearing his son's little voice on there, and just like, again, very mature Outkast album. Him, reveling in being a dad. If you want to feel old, Bamboo just graduated from college.
Oh my God, dude. Thanks. I didn't need that. Holy Lord. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I believe at this point, Big Boy is also a grandfather. He's talked very much about that online, about how proud he is about, his family and his children, his grandchildren. Yeah. But, at this point,
Wow.
Big Boy is about 50, isn't he?
He's at least. I mean, I'm 51. I don't know that he's younger than me. I don't think he's younger than me. I don't think so.
He is 49.
He is younger than me. Wow. Now I'm just, I got one foot in the grave now. Good Lord. I do like, dude, when his kid talks about Michael Jackson and Big Boy immediately dismisses it.
Not on my song. We're not singing on Michael Jackson.
Oh my God.
We get a nod to Whole World, like I brought up earlier, and that's where Killer Mike made his big debut. And he's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna sing?" He's like, "Whole World." He's like, "Yeah, that's your record, that's your jam."
Oh, that's really fun. Yeah, what a nice little interlude, man. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I really feel like the second half of his album is really dominated by the features and all the little guest spots, and it feels really fitting that his son is kind of like the first kind of stop in like all of these like guest figures of all of these people that are around his life and in his life. I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool that he included his son on the album.
Yeah, I do as well. I like that a lot. So you're talking about the second half. This is track 11. So Tomb of the Boom basically is the second half of the first album here, featuring Concrete, Big Gip, and Ludacris. I'm a fan, dude. I'm sorry. I'm a fan of Ludacris. I don't know if I'm a fan of Ludacris, the actor, all the time, but I'm a fan of his as a rapper. What do you think about this one?
I love Ludacris, man. What a great catalog of records he has. He had a run. Boy, he had a run, man.
He did.
Those first 3 or 4 albums were all big monster hits. It was a really good treat to hear him on the album. Cool to hear guys from Goody Mob as well. Of course, Dungeon Family influence again. Every time I think of this record, I think of the great line of floating in the fallopian of an Ethiopian.
Oh, who else was it? Wu-Tang had the fallopian tubes lyric.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun. And somehow they make it work. I mean, where is this song for you on this album, though? How do you rank it?
I really like it. It's not passable for me. I really like the groove of this beat. It works for me. It plays throughout the interlude as well. I like it.
Yeah, Big Boy's listed as producer on this one. This is one of the longer, well, can't say the longest, 4 minutes and 46 seconds. Quite a bit of time spent here. I like it. I think it's a little bit of a departure from the, sort of the bouncy, the rhythm filled, sort of clap along, bob your head to it. But I still like the track, man. It's not really a skip for me. I do enjoy it because, again, I like Ludacris quite a bit.
Yeah.
I do like the rhyming pattern happening here. I think that's a hook. I think I really enjoy that. So that's a fun one. Yeah, this is not really a skippable one for me. I like this quite a bit. Let's see. Athletes want to be rappers. Shawty, trust me. Bending corners in the bins. Riding like a bucket, fire another. I won't read the next line. Yeah, this is fun. Yeah, good stuff. We go from that to another interlude, kids, at track number 12. This is EMAC. This is only 24 seconds. Not much happening here. A distorted voice. I'm listening to it right now. Yeah, not much happening here. From Texas to GA, bleeding your speaker box, play a staying throwed, no putting diamonds off in your socks, blowing killers, sipping lean and dropping screens. North Dallas and Equimini full. It's all the same team. So there you go. We go from that field to track number 13 at 3 minutes, 31 seconds. This is Knowing. I really, really like this song. What do you think about Knowing?
Really love the beat on this one. Really great groove. I love it's a Curtis Mayfield flip, I think, on a sample, right?
I think you're right. And honestly, I thought it was Pharrell for the longest time.
Yeah, I don't know who's doing the vocals, but yeah, I know it's a Curtis Mayfield flip,
Yeah.
if I'm remembering correctly.
This
But
is
yeah,
I love
I
the
like the
rhyme
record a
too,
lot.
man. This is such a good
Yeah,
tune. And Big Boy doing his thing. Brothers on the Block, knowing from this point on it only gets rougher. Yeah, this is a good tune, man. What do you think about this one as a whole? How's it working for you?
I like it. Like I said, I think that it's easy to get bogged down because we get a lot of interludes towards the end of the album, and we get a lot of features. But I still, up to this point, nothing gets really skippable for me.
Mm. Yeah, same. Gosh, this is a really good tune. Yeah, let's see. Big Boy's listed as the only writer on this one, which is interesting. Mr. DJ and Big Boy listed as producers on this.
Yeah, I believe we got Andre vocals on here. I think he's doing ad libs in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, he is for sure. You can hear him. Yeah, man, this is definitely not a skip. I swear for the longest time I thought that was Pharrell on this track with them.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Of course, we get the great opening line of "Situations getting ugly, like in Living Colors, Wanda."
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, and everybody play dumb, but there's some that succumb or fall a victim. Oh, what a great pattern. I love that. It's an art form. I continue to say, really good rappers, man. It's an art form, dude, to be able to put things together like that. Wow. So good, so good. Again, another song, kids, that is highly listenable, highly repeatable, I believe. I really love this one for sure. Let's see. From track 13 to 14, this is Flip Flop Rock featuring Killer Mike. He's back. And your boy Jay-Z's on this one, 4 minutes, 35 seconds. Jay doesn't have a whole lot to do here, Phil, but it's still a really, really good song. What do you think about Flip Flop Rock?
Yeah, I am a big Jay fan, of course.
Yeah.
One of my favorite rappers ever, and so I was really excited to see he was on here. It is very funny that both of these guys kind of was like, "Hey, I'm doing a double album. Hey, would you like some placement on this?" Because he's, of course, on Popping Tags on Bluetooth. He being Big Boy, he's on Popping Tags on Blueprint 2.
He
And
is.
Jay-Z pops up on his double album here and returns the favor, drops a feature on here. I think Jay's verse is very, very good on here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I can see people, skipping this song, but again, it's Jay, it's Outkast. I'm not gonna skip.
I'm not skipping it. That's crazy talk. Does it get flack like that?
I don't know. I only remember from that time period listening to people, uh, but I knew a lot of people that were mostly like they listened to Love Below more than this side of the album.
Uh, I mean, I did too, honestly, for a long time. I
um,
did.
I I would wager that Speakerboxxx has aged a lot better than Love Below.
Hmm. Yeah, it's solid. I can't argue with that, especially after deep diving into the lyrics and everything, into the beats and the compositions here. Man, what a solid album this is. This is crazy good. Yeah, I really like this a lot. In terms of this one, as we said, Killer Mike is back. Jay-Z's on this one. The song is about, honestly, about flip-flopping many things such as racial stereotypes, flows, and rapping styles, as well as shoes and clothes. So I don't know how deep this one is compared to the politically charged tune that we had earlier, but man, it's good. It's he mentioned Cassius Clay. There's some pop culture references here. Really, really good out. A really, really good song, man. I really like this one a lot. If you brunette, legally blonde, I might respond. Oh, that's good. Penelope Ann Cruz couldn't snooze with her eyes wide shut. Yeah, yeah. This is fun. I like this one as well. Another fun tune. Track number 15 is another interlude. This is only a minute, 15 seconds. And not a lot. Let's see. Not a lot going on here as well. This is about the longevity of Big Boy and Andre 3000's career and discography. And let's see. There's literally no one listed for this track, dude.
Hmm.
Interesting. So, track number 16, we're back to it. 4 minutes, 35 seconds. This is Reset. You mentioned earlier Goodies on this and CeeLo's on this. Another good dude. The vocals on this. Oh, this is a great freaking song, Phil. What do you think about this one?
I love Reset. There's a little bit of bittersweet tone to it. It kind of feels like we're out to kind of flip things on its head again with this album, and you know reset the game in a way, but at the same time it feels like a collective reset for those two, because you could again very much feel like this album is where they're diverging in terms of like their sound, their vision for the music they want to make, their lives and what they're doing.
Mhm.
And it almost feels like it's like this bittersweet way of him saying like we're not splitting up, but this is us resetting again in a way of almost like the way we changed the game when we got together, we're changing the game again in a different way by doing things our own ways.
Oh, that's great. I really like that. Yeah. He we talked about the Dungeon family, of course, Cujo Goody and CeeLo Green of the Goody Mob for this song about starting over clean, aka resetting after making mistakes. And yeah, man, really, really good song, dude. Uh,
Yeah.
CeeLo's comments on this was, I got the invite to come and be a part of it. Typically, I would go in, I would pick something, but this time Big Boy just had me in mind. I think he just felt really strongly that this was a record that would just suit me, and he was right. When you're presented with an ultimatum like that, you just want to deliver. I just definitely wanted to step up and deliver. That's really what the simple motivation is. And then I just began to reflect on things that were immediate in my everyday life. Really good song, dude.
Yeah.
The vocals here are fantastic.
Vocals are fantastic, great production. I think all of the verses on here are great. CeeLo raps on this. It's not him coming with his vocals that most people know him for now. Of
Hmm.
course, CeeLo, most people know him from the Gnarls Barkley stuff or his own solo vocalist stuff. And his verse on here is actually very good.
Mm.
And of course, a lot of times I prefer him as a vocalist because a lot of things that like I'm his biggest fan of, like because I was a big Gnarls Barkley fan. He's got a bunch of covers where he did vocals. He does a version of Radiohead's Reckoner that is fantastic.
Mm.
Uh, Very problematic as well. I think there are like some allegations to some weird stuff around CeeLo at one point. Very problematic, but what a great artist.
Oh man, that sounds familiar now. Actually, that you mention it. Yeah, but I couldn't tell off the top of my head what it was. Speaking of the vocals, this is Deborah Killings, who is freaking great on here. Really, really good. Um, let's see. Our granny got a gold, and now we want one for that reason. An adolescent mind is so impressionable in those stages, but parents got to parent their kids to keep them out of cages. Parents got to parent to keep their kids to keep them out of cages. My goodness, what a great line, dude.
Yeah, I really love Cujo on this record as well. His verse is so animated, uh, unmistakable voice on it. Uh, there are
Yeah.
bits of it that are unintentionally funny. Um, I can't even get it
Yeah.
out without laughing because he's the part where he's like, "I used to want to keep up with the master." I can't even get it out. It's so funny. But
Yeah.
his verse and how he's talking about all these things, and just his voice on it is just so fantastic.
So good. But Ephesians 6:12 said it wasn't flesh and blood that we wrestle against. Principalities, powers of this world, rulers of darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. Man, there's a lot of deep stuff he's got in this verse, man. Yeah. A lot of well, and then there's a little bit of crude stuff thrown in too, so
Yeah,
it levels itself out. Yeah. Again, not another skippable. It's not a skip for me. I enjoy that one quite a bit. So track 17 is yet another interlude. This is Big Boy. 40 seconds. Let's see. Big Boy's this is actually D Boy. Excuse me. Excuse me. Interlude. It's fun though. There's not much going on here, Phil, but I like it.
yeah. Uh, it's just an interlude at this point. Like it's basically wrapping up the album.
Sure. Yeah. Kind of coming down to the last full song, which is track number 18. This is Last Call with Slim Calhoun, Lil Jon, the East Side Boys, and Mello. Get Lil Jon on your album, Phil, and it's track 18 on your album. And you only got one thing left after this. So he's kind of wrapping it up for you. What do you think about Last Call?
Uh, if you want like a great way to kind of end this celebration of what your life is now, and the guy to come out and say "Last call, everybody get your drinks," Lil Jon is the right guy to get it. East Side Boys on here as well. Of course, Lil Jon and East Side Boys very popular for records like Get Low. Um, yeah, they were a very welcome addition to this album. I think this was a great kind of party vibe to end Big Boy side of the album. I feel like it's a perfect way to wrap up his side. And it's a very fun record. Lil Jon is Lil Jon. He always brings the energy.
Yeah.
I really like the song.
And there's somebody else, Phil, that you can't really emulate or like copy as Lil Jon.
Yeah.
So good. He makes every song better. I say he makes every song better.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think it's a good transition to go from Reset that is very introspective and in some ways bittersweet, and to go into this and it's like, nah, this is still a party. It's still party vibe. What do y'all think this is?
yeah, yeah. The voice of the chorus with Lil Jon on him is really, really good, man. Really, really good. Yeah, I really like this one. What a way to wrap it up, man. Like you said, what a way to wrap this up. Because the only thing we have left after this is 35 seconds, number 19. It's what's called the postlude of Bow Tie. But this last call, man, this is
Great song.
honestly this could have kicked off the album. I mean, I know the name of the song lends itself to being the last track, but other than that, you could have kicked the album off this song.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this was perfect. To start the album with ghetto music and then end it with Last Call. I think that was perfect sequencing.
Hmm.
Um, I think ending it with the like Rooster character doing the outro was great as well. We get the refrain of Bow Tie. Thought that was a good touch. It made it feel like kind of like the song that plays right before the interlude or the remission in a play before we get the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Man, them boys so wild, don't crack no smile. Closet like the Wild Kingdom, fox, minks, and crocodiles. I like the they call me Mac Rapalicious, and when I bubble, I blow trouble up in your ear. I like that. Yeah, really good song. Well, there you have it, kids. There's side one. There's Speakerboxxx. Man, Phil, I've always enjoyed the first side of this double album, but I got to be honest, I've always been more of an Andre 3000 guy. But man, mad respect coming out of this because I really listening to it and breaking it down and analyzing it and everything. Man, I really enjoy this side of the album, man. It's not the same. If you take away either album, it's not the same album, right? I mean, it
It's
still
not as
does
good.
well. I don't know that it does as well.
Yeah, I think if you take either side away, it's not as good of an album. I
Yeah.
think that if nothing, these are both solo albums, but it does make the point of how much these guys need each other to balance each other out.
Oh, great point. Yeah. Sort of that yin and yang happening here. Yeah, this was it's a good one. We talked a little bit about certifications earlier and what this album did on the charts. After having had 3 number 2 albums on the US Billboard 200, Outkast enjoyed their first chart-topping album with this one, Speakerboxxx and Low Below. It debuted at number 1 in the week of October 11, 2003. Sold more than 510,000 copies in its first week. Became the second biggest debut for a double album during the SoundScan era that began in 91. It sold 235,000 copies in its second week, holding its position atop the Billboard chart. And as we said, kids, that doesn't happen if you take away either one of the sides of this album. So, which album, Phil, in your opinion, is more musically diverse? Are they about even? What do you think about that?
I think they're both very musically diverse in their own way. I think the second half is very like kind of like prog rap. It has its own distinct style to it. But I really love that Big Boy decided to go with like a celebration of Southern music, Black culture, and
Mhm.
all the things that make him Big Boy. And I think because all of those things mesh so well, it's such a versatile um album. Like just think of like Church. Church is nothing like Bowtie.
Right.
Bowtie is nothing like ghetto music. Like
Right.
there are so many songs on the first half of this album that don't sound anything like the other.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of diversity happening on the first album here. To your point about Big Boy and his inspiration, what he was going for, the cover art for this album, we haven't even mentioned the cover of both these albums are iconic in and of themselves. The cover artwork for Big Boy Speakerboxxx was actually inspired by a 1967 photograph of African American revolutionary Huey P. Newton
Hmm.
sitting in a big wicker chair. Great photo.
Yeah, he's got the big wicker chair with the big feathers on it, like some peacock feathers. It looks like possibly some rooster feathers, if I had to guess.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Of course, this guy looks good in a fur coat. He looks great in a fur coat.
He does. Yeah. Got the Dusty Rhodes vibe happening. Very few men can pull off a meat coat. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Uh, but this guy has style, man. Big Boy has style, charisma,
Mhm.
and I again give this guy his flowers, man, because he very much proved throughout this album that he could carry album on his own.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, this was sort of do you go as far we talked about Fife earlier. Do you go as far to say that it's I don't know, like we knew Q-Tip was crazy talented,
Hmm.
but when you heard Five Dog really coming into his own, you realize this guy is really, really good. Is that what's happening here, or did we already kind of know?
We already kind of knew that, I thought, because Big Boy has already had classic verses on things,
Mm.
on Outkast records, on features outside of Outkast records. But I do think it's the same dynamic of uh, Fife was the grounded one, Tip was the esoteric one. And it's the same thing here, where Big Boy is the grounded one, uh, Andre is somewhere in outer space. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but I would actually argue, because we did get a solo Fife album, I don't think there's a Fife album that's as good as this album.
There you go. Yeah,
I think his solo albums are better than anything Fife did by itself.
interesting. I'm okay with that. Um, yeah, I'm okay with that actually. Yeah, this guy, like you said, style, charisma, great voice. I mean, bring really grounding this act. Can't wait to get into the next one because we'll have as much fun with that as we did with this, but for different reasons. But still good. We talked about Phil what this album has done. We should note it was nominated for a total of 6 Grammys and won 3: Album of the Year, Best Urban Alternative Performance for Hey Ya, and Best Rap Album.
Very well
And
deserved.
very well deserved. Yeah. The other nominations were for Producer of the Year, Best Short Form Music Video, and Record of the Year. The latter two both for Hey Ya. There you go.
Yeah. And, I think there's also something to be said about how proud both of these guys are of being Southern black men and how they stood at the precipice of Southern rap music, especially in a time where South was not being taken as seriously. Because for a long time it was East Coast, West Coast. Every
Mm-hmm.
now you hear some rumblings from the Midwest, but the South wasn't taken seriously outside of guys like Scarface, of course, Outkast, some guys from Florida. Um, but Outkast was one of those groups that was undeniable. They really led this charge of Southern hip hop taking over in at one point.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. I mean, dude, can you imagine the rap landscape without these guys in it?
No, no. Again, feel they're among the list of the best rap groups of all time.
I have to agree. Yeah, for sure. Which is why we're covering them here on the 6M kids. Apologies for not hitting them on the 20th anniversary. But we missed it. But man, such a good record, dude. Can't believe how good this record is. And it still holds up. Do you think it still holds up after 21 years now?
I think it's aged better in my opinion, and some of it could be nostalgia of when this album came out, and
Mm,
I used to listen to it a lot in college. So it's definitely on my list of one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's definitely in the conversation. It should be in everybody's conversation because this is really excellent. Excellent album. Well, kids, there you have it. There's side one. There's Speakerboxxx. We did it. We brung it to you. And hopefully you enjoyed it. And hopefully you've got opinions that match ours and mirror ours. And maybe you got your own takes as well. But we're going to come back with the Love Below to round out the review of this great double album. And it's one of those, Phil, I'd say something else about both sides of this album. And honestly, I might could, I don't want to preview too quickly, but I might could listen to side one more without hitting any buttons. Do you know what I mean? Not that I don't love side two, because I do, but it's a different kind of listen. You know what I mean?
I agree, but I because I think the first half of the album is very easy listening.
Yeah.
Uh, it's very fun. It's very catchy. It's got great grooves, great production on it. You kind of got to be in a certain headspace to listen to Love Below sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And you don't really need to for side one. Yeah. There you go. Well, kids, there you have it. There's side one, side two coming soon. But Phil, before we get there, give me your last word on Speakerboxxx.
Uh, yeah, this was it's still wild to think this is the last full length Outkast album we're getting. The first half of it, I think, is a statement from Big Boy that he very much is instrumental to this group.
Hmm.
He deserves his flowers. I know that Andre 3000 is considered one of the best rappers of all time, uh, but he wouldn't have had the success that he had without Big Boy. This album is just such a great collection of all the music that makes him him. It's just fantastic from start to finish, in my opinion. Um, can't say enough how much I like this first half of the album, how much I appreciated Big Boy as an artist.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's excellent. And let me hit you with this on the way out the door because I don't know why I didn't ask you this before, but was this a risk? for them to do this in the first place? Do you recall there being talk like that? Because I don't, I know I didn't know what to expect. And I kind of felt like, wait a minute, there's two. Oh man, are they splitting up? Is it going to be too different? I mean, do you think there was some risk involved doing it this way?
I think it was definitely some risk, especially for Big Boy, of kind of going out on his own and going with his own vision on the first half of the album. Um, and I mean, when you look at all their music and you look at what Andre was doing on the second half, when you look at just how different Andre's um, vision for his music was, how different his music videos and everything looked, yeah, I can see it being very risky.
Yeah. Well, listen, nothing ventured, nothing gained, kids. No risk, no reward, and any other number of cliched sayings we could throw at you. But it paid off, folks.
Yeah.
Paid off. Depending on your point of view and what you feel about this album, it definitely paid off. And as I said, the love below's coming. So just keep your eyes open. Just hang on, kids. We'll bring it to you. But in the meantime, that is Speakerboxxx.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.